Hey, so today I want to share, when it comes to homeschooling, some of the resistance and rewards that I've run into as a homeschooling mom, and then maybe a few of them, if I can think of resistance and rewards for my children. And a lot of those things are connected. So, like I shared before, I'm running stage in here, and that stuff is um, I was very supportive as a child. My mother read to us a lot when we were little, encouraged books a lot, like throwing out a book is like sacrilege. I watched both of my parents read in the house. So that was a wonderful example. My father had stacks of newspapers. He would read magazines, all those things. Mommy has a full bookshelf of books that I have stolen, quite a few. And when we went to elementary school, even before we got there, we were in Montessori schools. When we got to elementary school, my brother and I were skipped a grade, entered into gifted programs, all those things. Excuse me. So that amount of support was not lost on me when it came time to raise my own children. One of the things that I had that my mother did not have was a background in education. I went to school for education. I taught in the school system for a number of years. Um, but deciding to homeschool has brought a community of support, but it also has brought some resistance. It did not start that way. So when I got married and decided to stay home, and that was a decision that we made together. Decided to stay home, work from home, and also homeschool, and they're both jobs. And then eventually to build a co-op in our space. Neither of our parents were supportive. Were initially supportive. They asked how I was going to scale up the school. How are you going to scale it up? So I guess we could have a very large school that'll make an amazing amount of money. And what I needed and what I needed for my children was a smaller space where they could connect, where I could connect with other parents, where they could connect with other children. At our largest, our homeschool co-op had, I want to say 16, 17 children and 10 families, all in our house, all in our house, all in our living room, dining room, and the front hallway of the house. Um, the concern was, uh, what was I going to do with my education? I should be at work. Um, I need to have the money to pay for childcare, which is a racket, by the way. So being home with the children saved an amazing amount of money in childcare and working from home, as opposed to finding somewhere to put three children under the age of 5 is mad expensive in childcare. But I digress. Um, how would I make the money that I should be making? Would the children really get all they needed? Are they going to be socialized? Which is the craziest thing for people to consistently bring about homeschool children. Would they be socialized? Will they be on field trips? Will they get the curriculum that they need? Will they get the curriculum that everyone else is used to getting in public school? Today, I'm especially reflective because my 17-year-old is headed back to university. She started school at 16, and she is going back to resume her freshman year after break. And I'm going to miss her. So I'm thinking about this journey that we've been on. Um, but even with all the concerns from family, from other people, the movement forward eventually created not only the community of support, but invited family and community both to invest in the education of just not just our children, but our collective children and community. And so the same the same grandfathers who were voicing the concerns the loudest were the same ones who came in to teach science lessons. Um, acted in a play that we did at Kwanzaa. Our Kwanzaa celebrations actually became like our school assemblies. That's where we got the chance to show what we had been doing, um, to share in many different ways, in dance, in step, in plays, in all these different ways, the things that we have been learning. Um, because so much of homeschool education, especially so much of African-centered homeschool education, integrates family, it also made space for uh, interviews with aunts, uncles, grandmothers, other members in community. It made space for at those same Kwanzaa celebrations. There was one in particular where a lot of the daddies danced. One of the mamas in the community who had a very long history of dance brought a traditional dance to about five of the babas in the community, and maybe three of those babas uh, were fathers of the children in the co-op. Um, four, because there was a father who was drumming as well. And so to be able to look at as a child at your education and say, well, that's my daddy. He did it. We would watch the videos afterward. That's my daddy, or talk about the dance or the different expressions of a traditional dance in different bodies and different people. It's been such a communal thing, and so the resistance. I'm sure it came up repeatedly. Sometimes we heard it, sometimes we did not. Um, Also did blend into investment and excitement. You know, there were um, resources that family and community would find, would think of us in the co-op, would send things our way because it was, that's what you all are doing over here, and this seems like it would be an amazing fit. So let me share this with you. The schoolroom and the classroom is quite truly the world around us. And so even as I prepare to take my child back today, um, the learning for her, for all of my children. But like I say, you know, when you're the first, you are teaching your child, you're teaching your parents just as much as they're teaching you. The exposure to community, the field trips, the connections, all the things that were done for children also created a support system for parents. And that is the thing that as we got further on into homeschooling that I realized was completely necessary. That yes, we come into homeschooling to provide our children with things that they may not get in public schools, to provide them with reflections of themselves, with places to practice their culture, to learn of themselves without it being edited or erased, to be able to celebrate who they are in every subject and not just in the month of February. We do all of those things, and how necessary it is also in accordance with and tandem with for parents to have support. For parents who are going to hear, some parents, because my children have not done it for me, but for children who may have come out of public school into a homeschool co-op or into a different space that they were not used to, or who have continued to hear, this is where I should be. Like, I should be at public school. To have your children say, you all are weirdos. you, you all are doing all this different stuff. And then to be able to look around at other adults who are doing the exact same thing, to have other families, um, other families of their friends who are doing the very same thing, who lean on each other for support, for advice, for resources, was completely necessary. So a lot of my why was to create the community we needed. When I think about my time in public school, there were spaces where I had really good friends and really good friends who were connected to my family, especially when we were younger. But as I got older, some of the friends that I developed were not the best friends, not the best folks. And that's not to say that that can't happen anywhere. Of course, uh, any child will grow and develop and realize that maybe what is happening here is not so great, or watch the evolution of a friend and say, well, that isn't the stuff I necessarily want to do. However, being in public school also meant that my mother and my father were not as connected to many of the other parents um, as my children are. here. Even though the co-op is no longer running out of my house, the friends that my children made when they were small, we still end up at homes for celebrations. We invite people over to celebrations here. We still end up doing movie nights and game nights and all those various things um, that did not happen for me when my only or main connection to some of my friends was walking into the schoolhouse. If there was nothing to keep us connected outside of the schoolhouse, those connections did not continue. So my main why, even with the resistance and the blessing coming to the blessing of rewards, was to create community. It was because there were other families who were desirous of some of the same things we wanted for our children. And we said, okay, well, let's walk this path together, which of course connected us to even more spaces and more resources. So if you're homeschooling, um, I encourage you to look for support, not just for your children, but also for yourself and many different supports, conferences, just talks, tea. We didn't have a water cooler in my house, but we did have the kitchen as we were preparing children's lunches. I encourage you to do that. And I also just encourage you to push past the resistance. Don't let someone else's resistance become yours. If you are clear in mind of what your goal is and what your objective is, stay clear and stay focused. And again, if any of these things are touching you, please feel free to share them. Please feel free to subscribe. And this is Reverend Okunfo Walimu Yogi, Sister Mama Adia, saying I'll see you later. Peace.